These are the times when contestants did their best to drag the MasterChef name through the mud. And this contestant right here literally drove Chef Ramsay up the wall. Alrighty, so in episode 7 of season 4, the last 16 home cooks met up at Pasadena City Hall in California. This time, they had to cook for a bunch of off-duty firefighters, real American heroes. Let's hope to God they don't screw it up. Now, their challenge was to whip up a 10-ounce New York strip steak from Walmart, and this wasn't just any meat. It was USDA certified, and only 1 in 5 steaks made the cut for being called Walmart Choice Premium Beef. But hold up, there's more. They also had to come up with this.
You'll need to make 2 side dishes using the fresh Walmart produce you see here, which includes carrots, bell peppers, zucchini, mushrooms, and asparagus.
And oh, don't forget a killer sauce for that steak. Blatant product placement aside, they had an hour and a half to cook up some mind-blowing dishes. And let me tell you, it wasn't your regular buffet. It was a full-on banquet with waiters treating these heroes like kings. However, in 90 minutes, one team would come out on top and the other would be dealing with a nasty pressure test. The red team was brainstorming and planning their menu together. But in the blue kitchen, Bethy took charge and made all the decisions.
I want you on the grill, you on the grill.
Bethy decided to whip up some potatoes with red peppers and throw in either chimichurri or a balsamic reduction sauce to pair with the steak. But hold up, they hadn't even settled on which sauce to go for. Just then, Chef Ramsay walked in to check on them, and what he saw blew his mind.
What's the sauce?
I'm gonna create 2 different sauces, a reduced balsamic sauce, and I'm gonna do a classic chimichurri.
You only want 1 sauce.
He was mad as hell. They were wasting time and ingredients making 2 sauces instead of focusing on 1. This is when Chef Ramsay called Bethy over, demanding an explanation.
What sauce are you serving?
I'm debating between 2 sauces.
Okay, so you don't know what you're doing. Unbelievable.
What a freaking waste. While Chef Ramsay was about to lose it, take a look at her attitude.
I promise you it's gonna be 1 stunning sauce.
Well, Bethy just couldn't care less and totally ignored his advice. Finally, Bethy promised to go with 1 sauce, and this is when I started to actually think she pulled through. But wait, hold up. Chef Ramsay spotted a massive problem on the blue team that could totally mess up their chances in the challenge. If you're wondering what it was, well, check this out.
We've got 101 firefighters coming in for lunch. There's not even a steak seared yet.
I mean, seriously? They hadn't even started yet? But the drama didn't stop there. Once the guests showed up, the blue team started serving up their dishes like pros, while the red team struggled like a bunch of amateurs. But here's the real kicker. The blue team made some ridiculous mistakes and sent out a plate without one of the most crucial ingredients.
You didn't get any of the chimichurri sauce. All right, hold on a second. Let me go get you some.
Could you believe it? They forgot to serve the damn sauce. Seeing this, Joe obviously lost his mind and gave the blue team a reality check to get their act together.
Come on! Move your ass and make another plate. Do I speak English?
Eventually, the blue team was actually the first to finish the service, but that didn't guarantee anything. It was up to the firefighters to decide which team served the best dish. And guess what? With 68 out of the 101 votes, Bethy and her team totally crushed it. Hey, maybe Chef Ramsay was onto something about them needing to focus on a single sauce. Either way, after the rocky start they had, I never saw the blue team pulling off a win. What do you think though? Well, I think after a point, how you deal with pressure is all that matters. And if you agree, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn on my post notifications. By the way, don't forget to visit all my social media pages to check out more amazing content from me. Anyway, speaking of chefs who messed up, there was one contestant who totally ignored Chef Ramsay's warning. And what followed next was chaos.
You've gone backwards.
So in episode 5 of season 2, Christian Collins, Susie Singh, and Jenny Kelly scored the top 3 best dishes. The final dish chosen was Jenny's masterpiece, savory salmon tart with caramelized fennel and shaved asparagus. The judges, including Joe, were throwing some good words her way.
The creamy ricotta underneath gives it that nice moist mouthfeel.
An uncommon Joe W right there. But really, who wouldn't be impressed about making something out of nothing, right? Anyway, after the judges deliberated, they declared Christian the winner of the challenge. Now, here's the kicker. He got the privilege to be the first contestant to raid the MasterChef pantry and pick the ingredient or style of food that everyone had to cook within the elimination test. But the theme for the test was still up to the judges.
Now, the theme of today's elimination test is the cuisine of Europe.
They laid it on Christian that the theme would be the cuisine of Europe, and he had to choose between Spanish, French, and British cuisine. And here's what Christian chose.
Vive la France!
But then Chef Ramsay dropped some really good news for our guy here.
You don't have to cook anything. You are safe from elimination.
All he had to do now was watch the others sweat it out in the kitchen. Now, for the rest of the crew, it was crunch time. They had just 1 hour to flex their skills or risk getting the boot from MasterChef. While absolutely everyone was feeling the heat, let's focus in on Jenny.
Do you have any heavy cream I can borrow? This is all I'll take that. Thank you!
Remember her from the mystery box top 3? Yeah, she was hoping to repeat her success. And this is where things got interesting. Now, Jenny decided on a trio of soups: cream of mushroom, French onion, and zucchini. But here's the thing, Chef Ramsay was getting real worried.
Why would you do 3 soups and not just one stunning soup?
When I've been to Paris, I love to go to bistros and see what the soup of the day is,
Yeah.
and these are 3 of my favorites.
Right.
I mean, makes sense, right? Why serve 3 decent soups when you can nail 1? But did Jenny exactly heed his advice? Nope, she went full steam ahead with her triple soup extravaganza. Now, how do you think that turned out? Was it a genius idea or a disaster? Well, you do know what the title of this video is, so let's see what Chef Ramsay has to say, I guess.
The onions aren't cooked properly. And also, you know, when you caramelize those onions, you finish them off with some mustard in there first, so it really brings the heat up.
Next in line was Joe, and at first, his reaction seemed pretty decent. But then the plot thickened, and his comments took a strange turn bordering on disrespectful.
These really are not even soups, quite frankly. These are like purees. These are like baby food.
I mean, calling it baby food? Seriously? Poor Jenny must have felt like she hit rock bottom there. Jenny came this close to being eliminated, but thanks to her incredible performance in the Mystery Box Challenge, she managed to hold on to a little good faith. Just enough to keep her going for a little while longer. But here comes an instance where a dream team tore into each other, becoming each other's nightmares. Well, let me break it down for you. So, in the 10th episode of Season 9, the top 15 home chefs were paired for a new challenge.
And guess what? You can choose your own partners.
But of course, there was a twist. As it turns out, they could actually choose their partners. With chicken, carrots, onion, bacon, and cornmeal on the menu, they had just 45 minutes to whip up a dish. Plus, they could raid a fully stocked pantry for extra ingredients. Now, Ashley Mincy and Taylor Waltman ended up together, and they were pretty hyped up about it.
I know that having her as a partner is going to be stellar.
They brainstormed and nailed down exactly what they were gonna make with the ingredients. But this is where Chef Ramsay got really worried.
I think personally, they're too friendly. They might not want to say that tough thing to one another.
Or correct one another.
Exactly.
That's what I'm worried about.
You see, being friends can actually be a challenge. The famous chef figured they might not call each other out on their mistakes. But hey, it is a competition, so let's see how long that friendship would hold up. So what happened is, sometime later when Chef Ramsay checked on Ashley and Taylor, he straight up hated their dish.
Why are you doing things, testing them, they've never tasted before?
He called it ridiculous and couldn't even help wondering if Ashley was even thinking. And what was her comeback? Check this out.
Is it for visual or is it for flavor?
I've never done it before, Chef. I wanted to taste it first.
Seriously, in a competition? Chef Ramsay had to set her straight. But that's when something caught Chef Ramsay's eye that left him beyond shocked.
Who mauled this?
Both Ashley and Taylor were frozen. Finally, Ashley owned up to it, admitting that it was her fault. But that definitely wasn't enough to relieve Chef Ramsay's worries.
I twisted it out of the joint.
Do you know how to break down a chicken?
Yes, Chef.
He went off on them, and the tension escalated very quickly.
I've seen better performances than Junior MasterChef with 8-year-olds.
Okay, now let's fast forward to the judgment time.
Ashley and I were definitely not on the same page, and it is completely coming through on this plate.
Ashley and Taylor had dished up something fancy sounding: pan-seared chicken, sauteed carrots and bacon, and cornbread cake. And Chef Ramsay didn't pull any punches.
Why puree baby carrots? You could eat them freaking raw.
He straight up called them dysfunctional and messy.
Watching both of you work is like chewing gum with a mouthful of nuts.
And just like that, the blame game kicked off. They started arguing instead of owning up to their mistakes. At this point, Chef Ramsay was over and done with their nonsense.
Two smart, talented girls, and look at the result.
Now here comes the big question: did their dish taste good at all? Well, let's ask Chef Ramsay himself.
The cornbread is dry, it's crumbly, and out of all those carrots, that's what I've got. And they're bitter.
But in spite of it all, the blame game was still going strong.
I started to cut it, and then Ashley was like, don't cut it that way, so she cut right into it.
Oh my Lord.
Long story short, they were both mega embarrassed for letting Chef Ramsay down. As for the famous chef, well, he didn't take it well either.
But right now, with these two guys standing behind me like that, I look the biggest idiot in this kitchen.
Now, let's dive into the juicy drama Season 1, Episode 11 Served Up, where a surprise nobody saw coming dropped. So, in this episode, things went south for one home cook in particular. Everyone was so pumped up to dig into some delicious creations when Whitney decided to throw a curveball. She confidently served up a pan-seared sculpin with a little something extra. Curious about the twist? Drum roll, please!
I actually used the tomatoes out of the can.
Yeah, so Whitney spilled the beans, or should I say, the canned tomatoes. You could practically see the excitement draining off of their faces when that little revelation dropped. To make matters worse, none of them were even interested in tasting the dish anymore. And Whitney totally picked up on that vibe.
Thank you.
Well, you gotta hand it to her. Whether it was a bold move out of ignorance or just plain insanity, Whitney shook things up with those canned tomatoes. So, even though Ramsay gave the stink eye to canned stuff, Whitney threw caution to the wind and went for it. The critics, though, they were far from impressed. And it didn't start and stop at the tomatoes. The whole dish felt off.
The garlic is overpowering. I can't really taste the fish because there's so much garlic in my mouth.
Now, brace yourselves. Despite the critics giving her a reality check, Whitney was grinning ear to ear about what she had plated. But seriously, did she even taste it before loading it up with garlic and salt? Okay, now time to unveil the scores.
To face the pressure test with a score of 5 out of 12, that person is Whitney.
She barely scraped together 5 points. Yep, that's it. Looking back, the critics were almost too kind. I almost thought Chef Ramsay would kick her out right then and there. But that does not mean he let her off easy. He straight up called Whitney out on her decision.
Why tell the harshest critics anywhere in the world today that you're serving them canned tomatoes?
But Whitney, she just stood there poker-faced. It was like trying to decode if she was handling it like a champ or if there was a whole storm brewing inside her head. Did she forget she was in the big leagues? Sure, she was upset, but even with Chef Ramsay breaking it down for her, it seemed like she missed the memo on what the actual problem was.
But anyway, no, I'm just gonna fight back because tomorrow I'm not going home.
However, there was still a silver lining. Whitney gained some overnight fans. Instead of wallowing in self-pity, she got back on her feet and kept going. If that isn't admirable, I don't know what is. But this next contestant made an unexpected mistake that got her disqualified. At just 21 years old in MasterChef Season 7, Andrea Gallen brought a burst of energy as the youngest contestant in the room. Despite her fiery personality wreaking havoc more than a few times, Andrea proved herself by winning multiple challenges, setting high expectations. So, during episode 10 in the 100 Farmers Challenge, Andrea landed on Diamond's red team, which unfortunately lost with just 20 votes out of 101. And the consequence was facing the dreaded pressure test. During the blue team's rescue mission, they saved Nathan, leaving Andrea and Terry in the danger zone. And this was the reason why they didn't save Andrea.
Andrea's going to go in and kill whatever we're doing right here. She's going to be in the top 10 regardless.
Confident in their abilities, the blue team believed that Andrea and Terry would secure spots in the top 10. However, after Nathan was saved, Andrea looked super annoyed.
The blue team is only saving Nathan because they know he's a weaker chef and that they can get him out later.
In the heat of the sausage challenge, Christina laid down the law.
You'll all have to grind and case your own sausage. Please, head to your station.
And that's not all. The contestants needed to have their sausages in a bun at the front table within 60 minutes. Andrea, guided by her culinary vision, crafted a bratwurst with beer butter caramelized onions and a currywurst ketchup on pretzel roll, aiming to represent her love for global flavors as a traveler. However, with less than a minute left, Andrea did this.
Andrea, move!
Yep, she threw a curveball by putting her sausage back in the pan. This prompted urgent pleas from the judges and even fellow contestant Tenoria to hustle. In the final 5 seconds, chaos ensued as Andrea struggled to make it to the front table with everyone shouting at her to speed up.
Andrea, you've got to be down here!
Oh, I did not even...
After arriving a few seconds late, Andrea, visibly uncertain, admitted her mistake.
I was so focused on getting my sausage in a bun perfect that I completely forgot to walk to the front.
Anyway, Andrea faced the judgment as the third contestant to present her sausage in a bun. Chef Ramsay inquired about her sausage recipe, and she revealed a mix of 1.5 pounds of pork shoulder, 1 pound of veal, and 0.5 pound of fat. And after tasting her dish, this is what he had to say.
Young lady, here, the sausage is still glistening. That is beautiful.
He noted the moistness of the dish and cut it into slices to showcase its glistening texture. Believe me, he was impressed by the glizzy. Chef Ramsay generously shared the slices with the other contestants, praising Andrea for her spot-on seasoning and commending her meat grinding skills. Eric and Terry joined the chorus of approval, labeling it as delicious. But that wasn't the end of it. What Chef Ramsay said next was one of the highest honors anybody's ever received on MasterChef.
I think that's going to be one in my book. Really good job.
Thank you, Chef.
Delicious.
Thank you.
Wow.
Wow, crazy. Imagine your creation being featured in Chef Ramsay's book. Brandy, who had earlier doubted Andrea's top 10 worthiness, conceded that not saving her only made her shine brighter. However, at the end of it all, it appeared Diamond might be on the chopping block, and here's why.
That's it. That's the end. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. I'm going home.
But things got twisted. During the deliberation, it all came down to Andrea instead.
I don't think we could have made it any more clear.
Listen, she had the best sausage of the night, okay?
Christina stressed the importance of following the rules, but Chef Ramsay tried to defend Andrea, arguing that she had the best sausage. And when the judges finally returned, Chef Ramsay dropped some big news.
The person who is unfortunately going home tonight did not have the worst dish.
Guess who got the boot?
We were forced to watch the last 10 seconds and sadly did not adhere to that rule.
Chef Ramsay emphasized that rules, unfortunately, were rules, and Andrea's late arrival, as seen in the last 10 seconds of the challenge, sealed her fate. Andrea then became the second person in MasterChef history to be disqualified for failing to adhere to the time limit. What happened next was heartbreaking.
I am so sorry. Rules are rules, and we have to abide by them on a daily basis.
Chef Ramsay lamented that one of the most talented and inspiring young chefs wouldn't advance to the top 10. Andrea, in tears, admitted her mistake.
I messed up.
In a bittersweet farewell, Andrea received a montage of her journey. It emphasized that not being in the kitchen anymore didn't matter as much as knowing what she wanted to do and who she wanted to be. A poignant exit for a promising chef. But here comes an instance where one contestant's arrogance took the center stage. In Season 9, Episode 11, Mark practically blew the doors down with his arrogance, and you have to see why.
I've made it better over this way. It's faster, a double boiler takes too long.
You have plenty of time. Do you want to make it right?
The dude straight up brushed off Aaron's wisdom on crafting the perfect béarnaise sauce. Yeah, like he wasn't standing in front of one of the greatest chefs of our generation. Bad move, my friend, bad move. And just to add a little more spice to the mix, he defended his own speedy approach, claiming that there's no right way to do things. Even someone like Joe tried to drop some knowledge about the importance of technique, but Mark wasn't willing to hear him out either. However, Chef Ramsay's intervention was yet to come.
I'm going to stop you now. 10 years of doing this competition, I'm not going to be responsible for sending undercooked egg yolks.
The famous chef finally let loose, and boy did he have a lot on his mind. When he pointed out Mark's undercooked egg yolks, he made it crystal clear how disappointed he was. It was like the weight of the entire 10-year MasterChef legacy just dropped on Mark's shoulders. Hold on though, because the elimination test didn't go much better when Mark's attitude was thrown into the mix. Now brace yourselves.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, Mark, for whatever reason, decided to toss in some strawberries at the last minute. And apparently, he wasn't caught up on his physics homework because he didn't seem to anticipate at all that their water would leach out and flood the rest of the dish. But wait, there was way more chaos to come. Struggling with the ticking clock, Mark fumbled and failed to get all the cupcakes in the box. Now imagine how Chef Ramsay felt. Uh-oh.
I don't have all my cupcakes in the box.
Talk about making a bad situation worse. Mark thought that a bit of laughter would magically fix everything, but Chef Ramsay's disappointment was hovering above Mark's head. Even as Chef Ramsay laid down the critiques, Mark stood his ground, claiming that his confidence was being mistaken for arrogance.
The home cook leaving this kitchen, Mark.
In the end, Mark's departure was inevitable. The MasterChef kitchen just wasn't big enough for his ego. Now, could you think of more times when chefs messed up on MasterChef? Let me know in the comments section down below. Also, don't forget to check out my latest video right here since it's even crazier.